Hi everybody, this is Cynthia Kane, and welcome to our video tutorial that will cover the use of the Library and Information Science Source database that's available through our library's website. This is a great resource for finding articles and other types of references having to do with all aspects of library and information science, management, and so forth. The first thing we're going to do is start with our library's website. The easiest way to get to our library's website is to go to emporia.edu/library. I should note at this point that I'm using Google Chrome as my browser, but any other browser can work if you have a particular preference. So let's go ahead and go to emporia.edu/library, and that will take you to our library's webpage. You'll notice up here on my bookmarks bar, I actually have this site bookmarked, and I highly encourage you to do that or add our website to your favorites so it's very easy to navigate to that later on. We're going to click on the databases link. And if you know the name of a specific database that you would like to search from our page, such as Library and Information Science Source, you can click on the letter L. However, you can also click on this All Subjects category and look for databases by different topics or subjects, such as Library and Information Science. This link will show you other databases that are available through our library that will relate to Library and Information Science. So I could click on Library and Information Science Source here, or again, I could just go directly to the letter L and scroll down to Library and Information Science Source. Either access point will work. Now, I happen to be already logged in on Google Chrome with my ESU credentials, and that's why I went directly to Library and Information Science Source. If you are starting a brand new search in your browser and you click on any of our databases through our library, you will probably be prompted to enter your ESU credentials, your username, and your password, very similar to Canvas. I do want to bring your attention to something up here. You will have a link in EBSCOHost databases, of which Library and Information Science Source is one, that's called My EBSCO. Now, I have my account set up in My EBSCO, and this is going to become very important in just a moment because your account in My EBSCO will let you save articles, create projects in the dashboard that you see to the left of the screen, and so forth. If you have not used any of our EBSCOHost databases before, there'll be a prompt here that you can manage your account, and that will actually then just let you set up your account in My EBSCO, usually again with your ESU credentials. Make sure that you do that the first time that you use an EBSCOHost database from our library. Then you can always double check, click on My EBSCO again, and if that's set up correctly, that'll show up with your name. Now, this screen will take me to a basic search, but a hint that I want to give you, not only for this resource, but for other databases. If you have a choice in a database to go to something called an advanced search, always go to that. An advanced search option in a database will give you a lot of other ways of limiting your search and narrowing it so that you can get very focused on your information need, and you just can't do that in that basic or first search option. So we have here, for example, some limits such as limiting to peer-reviewed journals or peer-reviewed references. I always click on that because most of the time I'm looking for scholarly peer-reviewed sources of information if I'm writing a paper or writing an article. And the chances are pretty good that you will be doing the same for your projects in your courses. You don't have to do this next part, but you might be asked by a professor to limit a search for information or limit your references to the past 5 years or to a custom range. So you can set that up using the calendar option. So that's a nice limit to know about as well. Under publication type, I can say that I want specifically academic journals, but you see, I could also say that I wanted specifically references to books, to conference proceedings, trade publications, which would not be scholarly journals. We're going to do specifically academic journals here. And I usually don't do document type, but you can limit your search even more if you were looking specifically for a book review or a case study or an editorial. Again, as I said, I usually don't do that, but I did want to show you that that option does happen to be there. Now, something you're going to notice, I could limit my search just to articles that are available in full text or more specifically PDF full text in this database, but I am not going to do that. And this is going to make a little bit more sense later on. The reason is that, yes, there are a lot of articles that are available in full text or in PDF in this database, but not every single reference in this database is going to be available as a PDF. If I limited my search, I would run the risk of actually eliminating some references to articles that might not be available in full text specifically here in this database, but we might have them in another database in our library, or we might have them accessible in other ways through open access, for example. So I usually don't limit my results to full text. But a limit that I always add here will be to limit my search terms or my words that I'm going to be searching for as they would appear in the abstracts or summaries of articles. I do that because, again, there's a lot of full text in this database. If you've ever searched in a database or even in Google and gotten a lot of references, but then you start looking at those references and you think, those are really not that relevant to my information need, the chances are that that happened because you are actually looking for your words and they're popping up anywhere in the full text of articles, even if they have nothing to do with your original topic. So I do believe in going ahead and limiting to the abstracts. You won't get as many results with this type of search, but what you get will be quite a bit more focused to your information need. So let's start doing some searching. So I am interested in actually library assessment. That's one of my jobs here in the library. So I'm going to type library assessment. And notice I'm just letting the database kind of come up with some words. And I might be interested in library assessment as it might apply to information literacy. And I'm going to show you something at this point. Again, I'm a big believer in letting the database come up with words to search on as I start typing them in. Again, very similar to Google. So I'm getting some suggestions that I could search for information literacy or library instruction or research skills. And I'm going to click on that because I want to broaden my search out a little bit more. So again, I'm letting the database kind of come up with some ideas for me. And if I wanted to limit that even more, I could say I am more interested in academic libraries. And again, I'm getting a lot of different possibilities here. I kind of like that last one. You can do the same thing with public libraries, school libraries. Start typing in your terms, and then again, let the database come up with some suggestions. So I have a limit to peer-reviewed. I'm not limiting my publication date right now, but I am limiting to academic journals. So I probably will get, hopefully, quite a few results with this search. I had 53. That's actually not a bad search. That's very manageable. Now, the default sort here will be relevance. So what they're doing is the database is looking for the number of times that my terms have popped up and then using that to help determine what is most relevant for my topic. It may not actually match what I think is relevant, but that is the way that this is sorted. But you can change your sorting if you like, if you wanted only the newest articles to appear first. And we can change that back to relevance. There we are. It looks like it is coming up with some new ones here. Now, I mentioned that there are quite a few articles, and we're seeing this in our first few results that are available immediately as PDF articles. And notice something here. I'm not clicking on this back button here in my browser. The reason is that if you've ever filled out a form online and then you need to go back to the previous screen, you click on your back button and it says that your session expired and you have to start all over again. The chances are maybe relatively low, but the chances are still there that the same thing could happen if I clicked on this back button. It might kick me out of the database. I'd have to start all over again, and I don't want you to have to do that. So another hint is to use the navigation tools within the database itself, such as this back button, and that will take me back to my search results. So that one was available as a PDF. So is the second one. This third one says access options. Now, we're going to come back to this one in just a second because remember I mentioned that since I didn't limit just to full text availability, this one is saying that this full text of this article is not necessarily available right now in this database. We're going to come back to that one in just a second, though. I wanted to bring your attention over here to my dashboard and projects. Now, you don't have to do this, but you can create different folders or different projects. And if you do this in an EBSCOHost database such as this one, and I'm going to do information literacy assessment, I can put a due date. That's optional, but that might be the due date maybe for the first draft or final draft of my paper, and I could put a description if I wanted, and I'm going to create that. Now, the reason I did that is that when I go back to my recent activity, if there's my search history, I could actually add that search to my project of information literacy assessment so I wouldn't have to remember all the terms that I put in and all of the limits that I put in as well. But if I go ahead and just click on this again, that will take me back to my search. And now what I want to do is start adding some of these references to my project. So if I don't have time to read an article through at that particular point in time, I can add these articles, the references and the links to the full text to a project. And that's going to save me a lot of time. This is another one that says access now, and that will take me directly to the PDF of the article. Now, this one actually took me outside the database. So what I would have to do on this one is click on View PDF and then download the PDF itself to my computer or other device to keep access to that one. So I wanted to show you something here. Let's go back to this top one. If I click on any of these links or click on the links within my projects, if I've saved them as well, I have several options. I can click on this quote. And when I do that, this will actually help me generate a reference for that article in a selected citation style such as APA. However, big caution with this. These are not always 100% correct. For example, on this one, you'll notice that there are words in the title of the article that are capitalized because they were capitalized in the original bibliographic record. APA style requires that these words, such as value, classroom, student learning outcomes, and so forth need to be put in lowercase. So you could copy this reference and you could paste that into a working document in Microsoft Word or Google Docs. But please use any of the APA-style help features that your professors have provided or that we have through the library to proofread these references and see if any corrections need to be made. I want to save you some problems later on down the line. So always proofread these references. However, it's really easy to correct those once you've copied and pasted that initial working reference. We'll go ahead and close this. And I'm going to click on Results. Again, within the database to go back to my results. So now let's go back to this one. Again, this one said that the full text of that article is not available through Library and Information Science Source, but I find this one to be very interesting. I would like to see if this particular article might be available elsewhere through our library. And this part is not intuitive. We're going to click on the title of the article, not the title of the journal. So I highlighted the title of the article and I copied it. We're going to go back now to our tab that's open for the library, and now we're going to click on Discovery Search Catalog. The Discovery Search Catalog will pull in a lot of references and a lot of articles from other databases and other resources that the library subscribes to. I'm going to paste the title of that article, get rid of that period, and search. If we have this available, now there's the article again, or the reference to the article. Now I'm going to click on Access Options and click on Full Text Finder. And I am going to see if this will actually take me to the article itself. And there it is. So this is the big reason why, again, I don't limit my search just to the full text of articles that are available through Library and Information Science Source. If I had done that, this one would not have popped up in my search. So always use, when you have that access option, copy and paste the title of the article first and pop that in the Discovery Search Catalog to see if we have it. Now, let's say for the sake of argument that this one did not pop up. If it didn't pop up in full text somewhere else through our library, then you could do this request through interlibrary loan. And I have interlibrary loan already set up through our system called Iliad. And because of that, notice that this automatically populated this article request for me. And I could request that article from another library that would then come to me free of charge as a PDF in my email. Again, I'm not going to submit this because we actually did have this article, but I wanted to show you what this would look like just in case we had not had access to that article. If you've not used interlibrary loan through our library before, you'll have a prompt to set up a form with your information, and then it should go ahead and populate this request for you. Please use interlibrary loan because it's free. We do not charge for it. We don't want you to have to pay for articles. Plan ahead, request articles if you can't find them in full text in a database or through the Discovery Search Catalog. And we'll go back over here. I'm going to go back to our recent activity one more time. And go back to a new search and go back to our advanced search. Another way you can search in this database is through something called subjects. And this is going to take you to something called a controlled vocabulary search or a search by subject headings. We've been searching by keywords right now. This is a way, though, that you can actually find references that are organized under standardized subject headings or standardized controlled vocabulary terms. And when I clicked on subjects, this would let me search for, remember I was doing information literacy before. If I start typing in information literacy again, search for that, I could search for information literacy itself as an actual subject term or controlled vocabulary term. And notice that it's doing something called exploding. What it's doing is saying that I could search under the descriptors or established controlled vocabulary terms of information literacy, digital literacy, I hadn't thought about that, electronic information resource literacy, health literacy. I'm getting a lot of different possibilities here. I could add all of those to my search if I wanted to. Or I could say that I want this as it might apply to public libraries, public library or public library or public library services, or I could search for public libraries within that controlled vocabulary term as well. We're going to change this to abstract and search. I have 466 references because it is searching a lot of different descriptors or controlled vocabulary terms. I wanted to show you that that is also an option. And if we go back over here to our advanced search, I'm back to my search, and that was under subjects. So there are a lot of different ways that you can search in this database. I just strongly encourage you to explore, try some searches. If you don't get any results, you can always expand your search limits. If you get too many, think about how you might want to limit your search a little bit more. Just a lot of different ways. Going back again to filters. And we're going to go back to our screen. Thank you so much for your time watching this video. And remember that you can always ask for help from your academic librarian liaison, and you can also contact us. Again, I've given you our library's website address. You can call the reference desk at 620-341-5207 and ask for help, or you can email us at libref01@emporia.edu, in addition to contacting your academic librarian liaison. Thank you and good luck searching.